really want to know what Michigan's about. Like, I'm really, I want to know what the deal is with them, right? Like, that's where my curiosity is at, because you watch one game and they lose they get walloped by, whoever.
Yep.
Central Michigan they lost to, right? They always go down to the wire with somebody, it feels like. Then they go out and beat Maryland by like 50. You know what I mean? It's like it's like there's no in between. So I think that's where I'm at. Obviously, Sydney's got more specific questions, but I just really want to. That's kind of what I want to know.
Go ahead. Do you want me to answer that, or do you want to go with the questions?
I was going to say, I think with some of the questions, we'll get to that a little bit. So, based off what Brad just said, I wanted to know your opinion on Michigan's best win this year so far and their worst loss. I have ideas in my mind of what you'll say, but like with that, talk a little bit about maybe with their best win and their worst loss, like what they had and then what they didn't have. What was missing.
I think, to be honest with you, like there's only one good win on Michigan's schedule currently, and it's at Pitt. The game against Pitt where they routed Pitt, and this was early, and this was like, I think most Michigan fans, myself included, were thinking like, oh, wow, this is like a really good Michigan team now.
Yeah.
And so, and now you look at what Pitt's done in the ACC since then, they're 11-4. So that is when Michigan, with how they're playing right now, Michigan is a bubble team probably. And so that win is going to be huge for their resume down the stretch. But that was like a coming out party for Jet Howard, the freshman son of Juwan Howard and brother of Jace Howard. And so that was where it was like, oh, Jet Howard is the real deal, and he's going to make an impact here. So that was a really good win. They need to do more of that. But I would say the worst loss, a lot of people are going to say the Central Michigan loss. Obviously, you never want to lose to a MAC school. That is like, if you're Michigan or Michigan State, that's like your worst nightmare is losing your non-conference game to a MAC school. But actually, the game at against Arizona State. So Frankie Collins was Michigan's point guard last year, transferred to Arizona State, so it was a revenge game for him.
Yeah.
And Michigan went out and laid an absolute egg. And so that's where I say Michigan's worst loss is actually, because they showed zero life in a game that like they had, actual emotion into. And so that's where I'm at. I really do agree with Brad too. It's like, the same way that Tom Izzo sometimes probably doesn't know what team he has, like Juwan Howard has no idea what team he has. It depends on who comes out. Sometimes Hunter Dickinson wants to be a menace to society and throw up 35 points. Sometimes he doesn't want to show up to the gym at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny too, because like I noticed something in a lot of and I didn't keep track of the entire schedule or whatever, but it seems like every time Michigan wins, it seems like Hunter Dickinson's out there putting up like monster numbers, right? And like and then if he's not there, then it's like, what are you? Like there are no other pieces who have really stepped up the way that Hunter Dickinson has, and Hunter Dickinson, it doesn't seem like he's been that consistent for them.
Correct.
Why do you think that's happening for him? Because he is a veteran player on that team. I obviously have been watching them. I feel like I was expecting more from him, just from like a standpoint of being a casual watcher of some of the games. And this season, I felt like he has underperformed.
What about
why is that?
What about like an extension of that question, where like I want to know if it has to do with Michigan's strategy, because it seems like I don't know. I'm not a basketball guru. I'm not going to break down film, but like, it seems like he's not a shooter. Like Dickinson's not like he's not a guy that's gonna go out and take threes. Not like Joey Hauser, where Joey Hauser's just fucking nailing shots all the time. I'll edit that out. But like, you know what I mean? Like Hauser's not, Hauser's gonna go out and take threes. Like Dickinson's a guy who's in the basket. He's a big. He's going to be right up by the basket. And it seems like he's been sort of not been able to get inside. Has that been an issue for Michigan at all?
So I have a couple of different questions or different answers to that. One, to answer Sydney's question as well, is I think a lot of it is mental for Hunter Dickinson. Like, he's even come out and said it. Like, sometimes he doesn't like feel in the game. Like he like checks out sometimes, and so I think that when he like needs to be like this villain. He really does. He needs to feel like everyone's hates him, and that's going to be the case on Saturday. And it, like last year versus Michigan State at home for Michigan, when he put up 30 plus, like that was him and Tom Izzo are going back and forth, you know, and like Hunter's calling him short, Izzo's screaming from the bench. Like, that's honestly when Hunter Dickinson is at his best, because he like is emotionally invested and cares a lot. But there are times when it feels like he checks out, and if he gets frustrated early, then you can almost throw in the towel for him. So I think the mental aspect for sure, and that's going to be a tough mountain to climb for him. You know, there's going to be students screaming at him all game long. Can he have the mental, attitude and the mental maturity to, get through that, or use it to his advantage to power himself? I think that's a big question. As far as Michigan's offense and their strategy, I think that the offense does flow through Hunter Dickinson. They want to get the ball to him as much as possible, especially get it to him on the block. And I think against Michigan State, I do think he's got a huge advantage if Joey Hauser is on him. I think Matty Sissoko definitely will probably guard him a lot. But I also think that Sissoko's still very young, and I still think there's a size advantage. Even though Sissoko's like his arms are bigger than my head, but I do think that I think that Hunter does have an advantage there. But to your point, Brad, there are times where it becomes a black hole, and they don't have an actually flowing offense. It's just get the ball to Hunter and go to the basket, instead of an actual offense that moves freely, that moves the ball around to all their guys, gets other people involved. And so sometimes it's an advantage if Hunter's cooking, but if Hunter's not cooking and they still get it to him, that's where Michigan falls into a real rut.
Interesting. So who else do they have? Who can shoot?
Jet Howard is a one-and-done player. He's going to the NBA for sure. He is the best shooter, and it's not close. Joey Baker has done really well coming off the bench. He's a Duke transfer. We call him GQ Joey because he's always got perfect hair. And so he's a solid shooter. And then Jalen Llewellyn just had surgery actually on his ACL. He was the starting point guard that came in from Princeton. So they have now I'm forgetting his name. This is bad. You got to cut this out so I don't look like a
Keep it in. Keep it in.
Yeah, keep it in. Sure.
Make him look bad.
Why am I blanking on our point guard's name?
You want me to look Michigan's roster up for you?
Doug McDaniel, DUG. So Doug McDaniel stepped in. He's a freshman. He's playing well, but he's still very, very raw. And he's not really a shooter, I would say, yet. So he hasn't been able to create his own offense much, which I think Michigan really needs that. But you look at the guys that did come back that are playing really well. I wouldn't say well, they're streaky, but when they're on, is Kobe Buffkin and Terrence Williams. Terrence Williams is a captain. He's an inside-out guy, a very big, I would call him a small forward. So he can shoot inside, he can go to the bucket, and he can defend. And then Kobe Buffkin's going to be a lengthy shooting guard at the 2. And so he's going to be a guy that when he is on, Michigan plays really, really well. But there have been a lot of times this year that he hasn't been on. So I think that the focus is if Michigan shoots well, then they'll be in this game. But there's a chance that Michigan doesn't shoot well, and they could be in trouble pretty quickly.